Dear guests, dear friends, it is a pleasure for me to be here after a quite tough year which brought the entire world to its knees, but also offered us an unprecedented opportunity to reflect on how we are conceiving our lives and society. As a response to this pandemic and more recently the floods that took place in various parts of Western Europe, we have experienced a deeper sense of union throughout Europe. However, we must remind ourselves that it is not just in times of need that we should feel this sentiment. The European Union was something unthinkable in the past century almost and before. And we gotta think about that. European Union built a thriving society with communion, with equal rights, but most importantly, it gave people the freedom, and with freedom I mean the freedom of the single person. The unity was enabled by sustainable progress, culture, innovation, and economic development. And to conclude, I want to highlight the importance of reminding ourselves that this sense of union is not something to feel only during tragedies as the pandemic and the flood. Instead, it is fundamental to follow the beliefs and the vision of the founders of the European Union and create a continuous sense of union through culture, sustainable development, and creates so a thriving society, which is in fact the purpose of the VPP4Islands project founded by the European Union. So, a very large number of investigation and research on the topic of energy are being carried on in most countries, both focusing on alternative energy sources and on how to minimize energy requirements of households, industries, and infrastructures. On the innovative research action, which were funded by the European Union under the Horizon 2020 program, is the one we are presenting here this evening, named VPP4Islands. VPP4Islands stands for Virtual Power Plant for Interoperable and Smart Lands and aims to lay out the foundation for a method of exchanging energy across Europe among consumer and independent producers, like houses with photovoltaic plants on the roof. Such a method will be beneficial not only in financial terms for both consumers and producers, but also helps to decrease energy consumption, incentivizing the use of renewable energy sources, therefore helping towards carbon footprint reduction and ultimately the aim of fighting global warming. So, let's follow along the presentation to better understand what VPP4Islands is about. And let me introduce you the Deputy Major, who is also Councillor for Tourism, Sport and Productive Activities, Matteo Polo, who is here, to bring the greeting of the Major Dario Raugna, who was held in assembly of the ICCRE, Italian Association for the Council of Municipality and Region of Europe. So, good evening. So, Matteo Polo.
Grazie. Buonasera a tutti i presenti. Io ringrazio il dottor Fasan, il dottor Tommasi, ringrazio il nostro servizio ambiente per aver curato e organizzato questo importante incontro. Porto i saluti da parte del sindaco che è stato trattenuto in un'assemblea. Per noi voglio dire che è sempre un piacere e un valore aggiunto aderire a progetti europei come quello che andremo ad illustrare e presentare oggi. Crediamo infatti che le buone pratiche, se condivise, possano accrescere in maniera esponenziale quello che è il loro effetto, il loro impatto sulle comunità. E quindi non potevamo che aderire e prendere parte a questo progetto che propone, oserei dire, una rivoluzione dal punto di vista energetico nella nostra isola, andando ad accelerare la transizione verso un'energia verde, aiutando le isole a sfruttare il potenziale e l'efficienza energetica con il fondamentale coinvolgimento attivo dei cittadini, diventando così autosufficienti di fatto in termini energetici, riducendo costi e impatto sull'ambiente. La città di Grado è, secondo l'associazione FIAB, il comune più ciclabile d'Italia, può vantare ben 33 bandiere blu assegnate dalla FI, la Fondazione per l'Educazione Ambientale, che certificano appunto la qualità ambientale della nostra località, e noi crediamo che questo importante progetto possa contribuire in maniera significativa a farci fare un passo in avanti nella direzione della sostenibilità. Per questo siamo onorati di far parte, a nome del sindaco vi auguro una buona conferenza e insomma la buona riuscita di questo progetto, una buona permanenza a tutti sull'isola di Grado. Grazie.
So, a little translation. The Deputy Mayor Matteo Polo said that it is a great pleasure for the municipality of Grado enjoying this kind of project as this one implemented by the European Union. The municipality of Grado believes that good manner when shared can implement the quality of living inside the community, and therefore it was also almost mandatory to enjoy this project, which promotes an energetical revolution on the island with a transition to the green energy, helping Grado in taking advantage of the energy efficiency with the fundamental active involvement of the citizens. The goal is to reach an energetical self-sufficiency, and it's important to remember also that Grado is the most cycle-path city of Italy and can boast as many as 33 blue flags. And in the end, both the mayor, the deputy mayor, and all the municipality of Grado are honored of your presence, and they wish you a good conference and a wonderful time in Grado. And right now, let me introduce you Claudio Gatti, who is Councillor for Environmental Alderman. Thank you.
Grazie, buonasera a tutti. Sinceramente sono un po' emozionato come sempre. Ringrazio anch'io gli organizzatori, i relatori, il pubblico presente e quanti ci seguono in diretta a Facebook. L'incontro di oggi è importante perché non abbiamo più tempo. È necessario un cambio di rotta a livello globale per quanto riguarda la sostenibilità energetica. Le istituzioni devono segnare il passo, facilitare questa transizione verde e per questo fin dall'inizio del nostro mandato abbiamo avuto ben chiara la rotta da tenere. Siamo riusciti così a progettare tante piccole e grandi azioni, sia a livello educativo, divulgativo, che più pratico come i piani comunali, quali per esempio il piano urbano per la mobilità sostenibile, per ridurre il traffico cittadino, o il cosiddetto piano struttura, attraverso il quale siamo riusciti a tagliare il consumo del suolo di circa 500.000 metri cubi di cemento, un cambiamento epocale per la nostra Grado e tutto il suo territorio. Un percorso in sintonia con quanto è stato sempre sostenuto dalla nostra amministrazione, ovvero la visione di una Grado come una città per le persone che riporti al centro la propria comunità, tutelando e valorizzando i luoghi della sua identità, rivedendo i rapporti col turismo in termini di reciprocità e multifunzionalità, investendo sulla qualità della città pubblica, intesa come un sistema di servizi e infrastrutture, strategicamente localizzate nonché opportunamente dimensionati per poter rispondere ad adattarci al quotidiano carico residenziale e al sovraccarico turistico stagionalizzato. Un altro piano strategico che abbiamo portato avanti è il piano dell'azione per l'energia sostenibile e il clima, PAES, che abbiamo sottoscritto con Legambiente per ridurre le emissioni di gas serra sul territorio comunale. I piani sono strumenti che le pubbliche amministrazioni hanno per agire concretamente con una lista di azioni prioritarie a breve e a lungo termine. Ma senza il coinvolgimento della comunità, questi piani rischiano di restare solo sulla carta. Per questo è fondamentale riconoscere la responsabilità di un'azione collettiva per costruire territori più sostenibili, attraenti, vivibili, resilienti e ad alta efficienza energetica. Ognuno è fondamentale per contribuire a migliorare il modo in cui viviamo. Solo tutti assieme andremo lontano. Grazie.
me introduce you Mr. Rafdagla Tommasi, who is a professional engineer with a PhD in geodetics and geomatics. He's a consultant and team leader for several international bodies, among which the NBA, National Basketball Association in the United States of America, and the European Investment Bank. Mr. Tommasi will present us the project and tell us more about the involvement of GRADO in VPP4Islands.
So, dear guests and dear friends, as introduced, the VPP4Island project aims to develop a new method to exchange energy between producers and consumers, in particular independent producers and small consumers. So, like, for example, people who have photovoltaic plants on their roofs and usual normal households, as could be mine or yours. VPP stands for Virtual Power Plant, and a relatively new concept which we'll try to explain in this presentation. Its application in Iceland-specific context presents challenges and opportunities which we aim to solve in order to obtain economic, technological, environmental and social impacts. So the fundamental objective of VPP4Island is just this: to define the mechanisms and prototype the technology which are needed to make this concept a reality. So the highlights of the project, it's quite a big and ambitious project with bold objectives. It is spanning 3.5 years over these 42 months. Involves 19 partners from 7 different countries, and the project budget is worth 7.2 million euros, of which 6.1, corresponding to 85% approximately, was funded by the European Union under the Horizon 2020 program. That means that also the European Union believes in this project and in this kind of projects. So all projects which look towards the green economy and the transition to the green economy. This is a map, an operative map of what we plan to do, but I will not go into these details. What is the involvement of the municipality of GRADO? GRADO is an active partner of this project from the first hour, along with CIVIESCO, whose representatives we will listen later. And GRADO specifically plans to develop a study on how and where to deploy and implement on this very island a virtual energy community based on renewable energy sources in order to minimize our carbon footprint and offer our guests an even more environmental friendly experience. While the whole municipality is supporting VPP4Islands, at the head of the project we have a municipal environmental department led by Dr. Maria Genovese and with the technical support of Dr. Gianluca Bregan, whom we have here in the public, and Dr. Gloria Catto, also here, and myself. Of course, when we're talking about project that big, the question which arises is, okay, do we get something in exchange for all the money and the time and the effort which is put in this type of project? And of course, we believe we have multiple outcomes, not only single results and benefits, but also families of results and benefits. In particular, we plan to maximize the production of renewable energy sources to optimize the consumption, so the consumption of energy in households, in industries, and in the public administration. And that is achieved by using the forecasting of the resources which are being used through by integration of advanced techniques of planning, not only weather forecasting but also consumption forecasting based on similar profiles, use profile of the day before, of the week before, or of the season before. We also plan to leverage the possibilities offered by energy storage systems, in particular virtual energy storage systems, and we'll also go through that point in a short time. Further, since we aim to use locally most part of the produced energy, we also want to reduce the power losses which are associated with the transfer of energy. These are the losses which typically happen everywhere in the world since the electricity was invented. When we, in our households, use the energy produced by a power plant, either if it's a thermonuclear power plant or whatever, 100 or 200 kilometers away, transporting energy from that point to our household implies a loss of energy which is approximately between 5 and 15%. By using this technology, we skip completely that part. And of course, there are also financial benefits for both the producers, the small producers, and the household users. The core technologies, I would like to highlight that this project is actually an integration project. We are using and leveraging existing technologies and implementing upon them. But the three pillars, the three core technologies that we plan to use are actually the digital twin, which is a way to always have a real-time representation, modeling of the reality, in particular the reality of the production plants and of the households, or the consumption or the usage. Second pillar is the distributed ledger technology, which is also popularly known as blockchain, or the technology underlying or underpinning the Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or whatever cryptocurrencies, which have been published a lot lately on the newspapers and so on. But in our case, this actually means a way to make financial transition more democratic and more transparent. Because by using distributed ledger technology, there is always an evidence of what happened, who received money, which type of contract were used and put in place, and how much energy was transferred. And that's all thanks to this type of technology. Last but not least, as we say, the virtual energy storage system, which is actually a way of conceiving energy storage systems, which are battery packs, but also let's think of the uptake of electric cars. So electric cars contain big batteries inside, as we know, and these can also be used as electric storage system. When we put those in a virtual community, we can leverage these existing goods, something that we already bought in our houses, to implement new features. And in this case, we can use them both to help the building of a virtual energy community and to gain some money. Let's start with the single user case. So this is something which has been around for 20 years now, more or less. Simplest case is someone who has a rooftop mounted photovoltaic plant, a photovoltaic panel. That panel produces energy, and the person, the owner, use that energy to heat their house, to use their appliances, the fixtures and the lighting and so on. So the energy produced is consumed locally. If there is an excess of energy, because, for example, the panel is producing a lot of course, during the day, as we know, but a lot more when about midday, and typically the owners, because we are more or less all workers, are not in that home, in that household, that energy needs to be sold to the grid. So the energy gets bought by the utility, which pays the owner, at a lower price, because the owner does not use that energy, does not need that energy, so the utility can buy that for cheap. When the owner comes back in the evening, they have to buy energy back. So basically their own energy needs to be bought back, and it's bought back at a higher price. So basically it's not very clever, because that's the opposite of what I would like to do. So I would like to buy low and sell high, but in this case you are doing the opposite. So that part is not very clever. Another thing is that this simple setup is not optimal for the national grids, the national power grids, because it tends to overload the grids. Because, for example, during the day, a lot of photovoltaic panels produce energy, which is not used, and it's sold to the network, to the grid. Even worse, if you think of it in an environmental from an environmental point of view. When we produce too much energy and the grid is not able to absorb that energy and to sell it to someone else in some other place, we need to disconnect our photovoltaic panel. We don't do that physically, but the electronics inside it just disconnect it. That means that we are ditching, we are disregarding the energy, and we are renouncing to use it, the solar energy. To put it in a funny but not so funny way, we are basically burning dinosaurs instead of using solar energy, which comes for free. Also not such a clever outset, such a clever solution. So let's move now to the energy community. A simple case of energy community can be a condo, so a group of buildings, a group of households or flats, which commonly own a photovoltaic plant on the roof, or maybe a small wind turbine or some other renewable energy source. Statistically, when there are multiple users, the fill factor, so how much of that energy is used locally, is much higher. So if you produce 20 kilowatt in a condo, it's very likely that maybe not 20, but maybe 15 to 18 kilowatts are used locally. So no transfer loss, no need to sell energy to utilities, so basically no need to waste money, no need to waste energy. Of course, part of that can still be sold to the utility, and in that case we fall in the same mechanism as before. However, there are a lot of advantages in using this methodology, this structure, because the national grids, for one, are not overloaded. Why? Because most part of the energy is used locally. And that's such an interesting point that the European Union issued a directive last year about energy communities for subsidizing, for asking single countries to subsidize energy communities, in particular for the benefits that each country can reap on their national grid. In Italy, for one, every megawatt hour produced and consumed within the same energy community is rewarded with 100 euro, and that is in addition to the money spared by not buying the energy from the utility. And that's also in addition to the fact that most countries in Italy, we have a tax exemption for a partial tax exemption for installing new photovoltaic plants. Okay? So this is, really a win-win situation in many cases. I would say in most cases. But until this very point, so both the single household and the energy community are not something new, because they've been around for several years. And so we might wonder if there is a way to bring it to the next step, to the next level. What if we could conceive a way to create an energy community which transcends the geographical limits, the borders or the physical constraints? What if we could be possible to connect small producers from one country to another? Let's say, for example, we have a photovoltaic plant here in GRADO, which we have a 20 kilowatt, taking an example of one of the photovoltaic plants we have here, 20 kilowatt power plant here in GRADO, and we have a household in Villach. If those endpoints, so in Villach and in GRADO, are equipped with a smart meter, which is like a small computer connected to the meter on the utility meter, so the meter which counts how much energy my household is using, so that the utility can send me the bill at the end of the month. And these smart meters are basically, they have the computing power of smartphone. So let's say that the smartphone is connected on the grid of my house, after the meter in my house. These smartphones are connected to the internet as well. And if we conceive that like a very large condo, like a very large community, let's disregard the physical constraints and geographical borders. Let's say this is a virtual energy community. At one point, the the smart meter in Filac says, okay, I need now some power because I need to heat, I need to heat a room downstairs because when my owner comes home, I want her to find the home comfortable. And so he is connected in a grid, he is connected in a network, in this virtual network, and he can send out a broadcast message. Said, very much like WhatsApp messages that we're using every day. And say, hi there, can I buy energy from any of you? I need 1 kilowatt for the next 3 hours. And let's say that in Grado, with a 20 kilowatt PV plant we have, we use locally 6 kilowatt. We sell then 10 to someone else, so we are using 16 kilowatt. We still have 4 kilowatt available. We're free to sell 1 kilowatt to Filac. The next 3 can be sold probably to the utility. And so the smart meter in Grado tells, yeah, of course, you can have my energy. Currently I'm selling at 15 cents per kilowatt. The smart meter in Filac says, okay, that's a nice, good price for me now, because if I had to buy it from the local, my local utility, I would have to pay maybe 20 cents per kilowatt. Also for Grado is a good thing, because the extra kilowatts would be sold to the utility for maybe 10 cents, so each of one is better off by 5 cents per kilowatt per hour. So it's a win-win situation. And so, yeah, the smart meter in Austria, say alles klar, send it over, and the energy is not physically transferred, but trust me on that, there is a mechanism to act like tokens, so where that the Filac household receives actually energy. And that's the energy that is produced virtually. It's virtually the same. It's not, the electrons are not moving. They are not physically connected to a cable, because that would be really a waste of resources and financial waste. But there is a compensation mechanism which enters after, say, every year between the countries to make things simpler. But that's not the point. The point is that the energy that I produce in Grado can be sold in Filac, or in Germany, or in maybe the energy which is produced in Denmark, one of our other partners, is used in Grado. That's very flexible. And when Grado says, okay, here you go, ciao, the transaction is over, each of these transactions are traceable and are in clear text, not only there, but are visible on the blockchain. So there is a type of smart contract methodology which kicks in, and everything is clear. So at the end of the transaction, this is a very small example transaction. There is an exchange of 45 cents. It's not much, but it's just for 1 kilowatt for 3 hours. Both parties are happy, because otherwise Filac would have spent 60 cents and the Grado would have gained only 30 cents. So everyone is happy. It seems like a win-win situation. It's actually not, because there is a loser in this transaction, and the loser is the utility, because the utility does not have the opportunity to sell energy to Filac, does not have the opportunity to buy energy from Grado, because the transaction happens behind their back. This is, however, only a local and temporary distortion, because as soon as there is enough citizen power, let me use that expression, the utilities will have also a signal, and using this feedback from the market, and that's a financial signal, so very powerful, utilities will know that they need to convert their production lines to green energies, right, to renewable energies. At that point, they will also be able to send their energy, to sell their energy to Filac, to buy their energy from Grado, and to enter that type of market. In the long run, that means that we as citizens will spare a lot of money, because we will have access to cheaper energy. The energy we will be using will also be a green one, which is today is only partially, and the whole market will be aligned to this. So, by the way, another clever thing which can be done, just to reconnect to the virtual energy storage system that we discussed before is that, for example, the user in GRADO can buy energy when it comes cheap, store that energy in their car and sell it when it's cheaper. Okay, and I'm finished now. I think that this is a very bold project with bold aims and with a powerful outcome, not only in terms of financial financial benefits, but also of what we can do for the future of our society, for the effects on the climate change and global warming. So I really think this is a good opportunity for us, not only to send a signal to the utilities, but also to send a signal to ourselves as a commitment to work in this direction, and also a signal to the future generations. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, so now let me introduce you Dr. Michele Stano, responsible for financial and administration of the CIVIESCO.
Okay, good afternoon to all. I'm Michele Stano, and as Alessandro just said, I'm the administrative and financial manager of CIVIESCO, alongside with my dear colleague Michele Simonutti, who is sitting there. And my role in the company is related to accounting and to the evaluation of profitability and the bankability of energy efficiency projects. And in fact, CIVIESCO is an energy service company founded in 2016 by Civibank and is based in Udine. As an ESCO, we provide services related to energy efficiency to private firms and public administrations, usually through an energy performance contract. Our offer is complete with both technical, thanks to our engineers, and economic and financial analysis, and with a particular attention to the many tax reduction opportunities as ecobonus, bonus facciate, and superbonus. This is our business model. We provide energy audit and feasibility analysis so the client can value the criticalities in the consumption of energy sources in its current situation, and can also value the possibilities and benefits from an energy efficiency intervention. We follow every aspect every operational aspect of the project, since we operate as a general contractor, and we also provide an economic and financial plan that is made by a software created also by Università Bocconi di Milano. At this point, we finance the operation, the intervention, and we monitor and manage every aspect, assuming every risk for the duration of the contract. As you can see from the picture, through the intervention, the client can reduce its energy bill and use part of the savings to repay our investment on energy intervention for the contract obligation period between CIVIESCO and the client. After that, the client will benefit of all the savings and also will have a more efficient and, most of all, more sustainable and new energy system. Another main CIVIESCO activity is the public-private partnership, in which we collaborate with the public administration to the realization, transformation, maintenance and operational management of a building, with the aim of retrofit energetically the building in exchange of a provision. All these operations are also possible thanks to a 30 million credit line that we received from the European Investment Bank inside the Climate Action Italy initiative. and we have to spend them in energy efficiency operations and sustainable investments based on renewable energy sources. Another instrument that we can use is crowdfunding, both in its lending and equity modalities. With the intention of deepening our knowledge of crowdfunding, we are partner and a strategic member of EuroCrowd, that is a European network that promotes the culture and the understanding of crowdfunding all around Europe. Following European main authorities' guidelines, our goal of promoting energy efficiency and innovation has expanded into the experimentation of long-lasting green economies, not only locally but also in other Italian regions as Tuscany, Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna, but also in Europe. So we decided to create a branch office in Rome that is dedicated to research and development and innovation, and we are currently involved in 11 Horizon 2020 projects that are most of all related to smart cities and communities. In the picture you can see our first two European projects, which have the goal of renewing some districts of Espoo, Leipzig, Amsterdam and Bilbao, and possibly the goal of replicate this model in some fellow cities that you can see in the map. Raffaele talked about VPP4Islands, so another energy community project is Redream, where we work for the retrofit through a demand response tool to the Gallese municipality that is near Rome to energetically renew some buildings of this municipality. Another demo project that there isn't here is HiBecome, that involves ASP San Luigi Scrosotti, or ASP Carnia in Tolmezzo, in which the goal are to renovate the energy efficiency system and to improve healthcare and wellness services through a virtual building management system. Lightness is another European project where the focus is to increase the renewable energy hosting capacity. And finally, we have Women for S, where the core of the project is the potentially disruptive role that women have in the shift between the current heating and cooling market to a more sustainable and renewable energy-based future. And I don't think there is a better way to introduce my colleague Martina Di Gallo, who is actually involved in kinda all these projects, and she will talk us about energy communities. Thank you.
So as said by Dr. Michele Stano, let me introduce you Dr. Martina Di Gallo, who is a European project analyst, project manager for CIVIESCO, and she's taking care of the implementation for the VPP4Islands project.
So, good evening to everybody. So I'm Martina Di Gallo, and as already said, I'm working for the Research and Development and Innovation part of CIVIESCO. And this evening I will talk about the energy communities that we are implementing on the Italian territory. So first of all, the energy community. The energy community implicates also the involvement of, let's say, the development of renewable technologies, sustainable policies, so the implementation and the implementation of sustainable policies, and also implicates the roles of territories. So, for example, as GRADO in this case, in development policies. And so first of all, the term energy community begins to appear in the scientific literature starting from 2007, 2008, and an energy community is defined as an energy project run by and for the benefits of a local population. So citizens are high involved in this kind of projects. And going ahead, so another definition is energy community are defined as project where communities exhibit a higher degree of ownership and control on energy project, and as a benefiting collectively from the outcome. So, as we can see, citizens play a central role in this kind of project, and also the outcomes that this kind of project have also, let's say, remain at the local level. So, for the implementation of an energy community, we have, of course, to take into account the preconditions, so the context factors, the motivation and the purpose that, let's say, the citizens or the owners have. And when we want to implement also this kind of projects, we have to, let's say, develop a process of stakeholders' involvement, since, as we already seen, the citizens and homeowners play a fundamental role in this kind of project. So, going ahead, we have also to take into account the governance processes that are going on in these territories, and the technologies that we can apply, and of course the financial aspects. And also we have to think about what are the results and the impacts that we want to have on this community. So the environmental impact, the economic and social impact. So as we can see, this kind of project has multiple results and multiple impact to take into account. So going on. So as already explained by Raf, so it's a bit repetition, but yeah, in Italy now it's possible to carry out the self-consumption activity according to one-to-one scheme, or a production unit serving a consumption unit. So if you want to go to one-to-many collective self-consumption model, we have two different configurations that we can see here. So the physical self-consumption scheme, which provides for a direct private connection between the generation plants and domestic users. So with a single access point, so point of delivery to the public network. So and you can see it in the figure number 1. It's really. And for the second case, we have a virtual self-consumption scheme with private connection between users and the production plants. Which provide for the use of the public network for the exchange of energy between generation and consumption units. Going on with CIVIESCO's approach. So in creating renewable energy communities, we start from this point. So the promoter could be a public authority or private, so individuals, either individuals or company. And we have to carry out some checks at the beginning, so finding the points of delivery, funding the typical consumption course of the connection point that will be connected, and then we have to send a request to the utility of the medium voltage points to which the individual connection points are connected. Once all this data has been acquired, we can go on with the, let's say, the definition of how many renewable energy communities we can implement, and also taking into account also the energy needs from renewable sources. So after that, an operational plan is drawn up, and it includes the relocation of the production plants for the production from renewable resources, the financial planning of the costs for the realization of the renewable energy community, and the drafting of the article of incorporation. So for the financial part, we have, let's say, two types, two methods that we propose. So the APC, and in this case, CIVIESCO installs the plants for renewable resources, and its own the expenses to meet the needs of the community, manage the bureaucratic part for the renewable energy community, and also manage the maintenance of the production plants. And in return, CIVIESCO will receive the tax deduction, and also the community will transmit to us the pre-established for the pre-established period all the proceeds deriving from the premium, let's say from the incentives. And finally, we have also we also support the renewable energy communities. So in this case, we install plants. The plants manage also here the bureaucratic part, and in return we will have one off payment for renewable source plants and other type of let's say payment. And going on to the energy communities that we activated. So the first case that it's also related to the regime project that we are implementing. So this case is the municipality of Gallese. So we are activating some energy communities in the biodistretto di Via Marina. So the municipality of Gallese was the proponent, and it made available all these point of delivery connection points in order to generate, let's say, a number of energy community on its territory, and with the goal also to, let's say, enlarge this community in the future. And also the municipality makes available all its real estate as possible points of installation of plants for the future. And here another example of a municipality in Veneto. So in this case, a number of homeowners wanted to use, let's say, a common parking space they have within the private street to install photovoltaic shelters to be shared for the creation of a renewable energy community. And finally, we are here in Friuli, and in this case, let's say the store manager was, let's say, allocated within a commercial build. So they want to establish an energy community by installing a photovoltaic plant, and they want also to implement the service with a car sharing system for electric vehicles to be installed in the parking lot. So yeah, that's all from my side. If you have any question, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you, to the municipality of Grado, and what else? I want to cut it short so we can enjoy the buffet.